I think we are live now, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another series of the Optometric Council of India panel discussion. This time, it's a little bit different. As Optometric Council of India, we thought that there are few members of ours who are doing exemplary work in remote areas and contributing towards community eye care and public health. And these people really don't come into the limelight, and we thought it is our duty to share their journeys, and that would be an inspiration to young optometrists as well. So that's our aim towards this particular panel discussion. And the three people are from three different regions. Anton is from Northeast, Mr. Shakil Ahmed is from Central India, and Vibha is a young optometrist from Delhi. So these are the people who contribute in their own way towards the optometric profession, as well as eye care services, delivery of eye care services. To share their experience, I would now hand over to Paula, who would be moderating today's session. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Anton, Vibha, and Mr. Shakil. Good afternoon, everybody. So to add to what Lakshmi ma'am said is that we have named this session as Unsung Heroes, because as Lakshmi ma'am mentioned that the work they do, they always it does not get limelight, and we thought that we can try and get their stories to everybody, so that whoever is listening can get motivated and get to know that how they can help the community and use optometry, the profession, to get into the community and help people. So Anton, I will start with Anton. Anton is currently based in Shillong. He has completed his optometry and he was working with LV Prasad. He has completed his fellowship, but he chose to go back to his hometown and serve there. We will listen to him, his journey, definitely. And then Mr. Shakil Ahmed, he works in a very interior place in Madhya Pradesh, Bhopal. Mr. Shakil Ahmed is into public health. Anton is an academician and as well as he is a private practitioner. And we have Vibha today, the youngest in the lot. Vibha is with Jamia Hamdard University, and she teaches there. She's also a faculty. And Vibha also, works in the community with the people and serves them. So welcome everybody. To start with, it's a common question to everybody, but I would start with Anton, that what is the primary drive behind all this? So Anton, if you can start.
Good afternoon. It's such a pleasure to be part of this discussion. I would like to thank Mrs. Lakshmi and Paula and OCI for giving us this opportunity to share our journeys. And I would also like to thank my fellow Zoom panelists for being part of this journey and being part of this Zoom call. For me, it started right after class 12 when my father introduced me to this very unique course called optometry at LV Prasad. Back then, it was in 2000. And ever since, it was a challenging journey. My undergrad years were full of self-doubt, and they were full of, you tend to doubt yourself, what you want to do, why you're here. But I think what changed for me was when I started actually working as a faculty at LVP in the retina department at one point in time. And then eventually I did my MPhil from Shankaranacharya, Chennai, elite school. And then I actually applied for a PhD to Waterloo in 2008. But then it took a long time for the process to get approved. I mean, it did finally get approved, but it was 7 months too late, because by then I had already settled back home, and I was fixed that this is where I want to stay. And my journey took off because I met a visionary known as Dr. Jennifer Basaimot. She's the founder director of Bansara Eye Care. She was the one who led me down this path, and there has been no looking back since. I enjoy working back home. I enjoy teaching. I've been teaching since 2008, and I still continue to teach. I I practice. I see a lot of patients. I practice mostly general eye care, primary eye care. I do a lot of binocular vision work. I also do a lot of administration work in the general eye hospital that I have. And so I tend to give it back mostly to my students, and especially when we go for these school eye screening camps and these eye camps. So far it's been a wonderful journey, especially because of my students. My students have been the bedrock of my journey through these past years. Thank you, Paula. Back to you.
Okay, I'll come back to you, Anton, with your and continue with the journey. Shakil ji, if you can please share your journey of how you came into optometry, and then the remote part you are taking care. Can you please share your journey?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I'm very thankful to entire OCI team, especially Lakshmi Madam and Paula Madam, to giving me such opportunity to express my views and experience on behalf of my all optometrists, trainees, and my colleague also. I'm very grateful, thankful to you. First of all, how I came into this field after graduation, in science graduate. After graduation, I did my first diploma, and that time that era was very different. That time there was no specific optometry college. Even as on today, there is no specific optometry college in our state, except recently in Gwalior. I think MIT University has opened some optometry college. So that time there was only optometry training program conducted by the government hospitals for medical college. So I did, after graduation, I did my optometry diploma in 98, 99. So almost more than 20 years happened now. So, but after entering in this field, it was my cup of tea, and this profession I like to work since beginning. Then after my earning and learning was going on simultaneously, so many education, fellowship and training I completed. Because of there was no degree program or master degree in optometry, so I completed BHMS in Ayush Health Education and MBA also. That's why I am here program officer manager in this organization from last year. I am taking care of community health and eye care programs. So what I drive in primary care, my focus area is primary eye care and vision centers from since beginning. A part of it, I was working in so many organizations also. I saw the accessibility of the people is very difficult that time to get the eye care services. In rural and semi-urban areas, that time people had to travel more than 100 kilometers to get the simple presbyopic correction or spectacles, simple spectacles. So that I realized that time after passing my diploma in optometry, at least once, and also I want to add that there was only one ophthalmologist who was overworked, available at only the district level. So it was not possible to get the simple presbyopic correction or simple primary eye care. Second one thing is that I was totally unsatisfied the way of treatment which was providing by general practitioners for the eye care. The way of because the people mindset was there, only that people think we have to consult only the GP practitioner, and the qualification is it doesn't matter. If he has a headache because of refractive error or migraine because of eye region, he consult to the GP, and their knowledge is limitation is very, very limited knowledge they have. So I decided to once in a week providing the eye care primary services in much needed places where it was 90% away from the district place and metros more than 100 kilometers. I started to provide the primary eye care service just to avail, so that they can avail the refractive error correction, spectacles, and primary care.
Yes. So basically, this motivated you because services were not available, and it's great to hear that you have completed your MBA also. That is helping you, in administrative, administration and stuff. So that's great to hear. So we'll come back to you. And okay, so let's hear from Vibha. So Vibha is the youngest of the lot. So yes, Vibha, what is your what you have to say? I am sure that you also have a story to share. Please share it with us.
Thank you, ma'am. First of all, I would like to extend my heartiest thanks to OCI team, especially Lakshmi ma'am and Paula ma'am, for creating such a wonderful platform on a daily basis, day-to-day basis, so that we people can come into front and can share our experiences, views, and also can learn from the audiences, participants, and from you also. So about my experiences, I would like to share since my school days. From
Okay.
10th standard, I don't think, I think you must have some like remembrance. There is a one chapter in physics called human eye. So when I read that chapter, and from there I came to know after every after 40 years of age, some presbyopic stage is called. And there I one point clicked in my mind, that yes, we have so much of population in India and everybody crossed the 40 years of age, so everybody can be our patient in future. So this was my childish thought during that time. And from there I decided to something to do related to ophthalm. So initially, like most of the people, I was also more towards the MBBS doing, and after that MS thing, MS in ophthalm. So fortunately, I cleared AFMC, but due to some issues or some circumstances, I could not join over there. And I will call it luck by chance, and I got admission in Jamia Hamdard in Bachelor of Optometry. And honestly speaking, at that time I had no any clue about the this thing, optometry. As per the current scenario also, we know ki most of the people don't know about the optometry and what does the optometrist do. So but out of the thing, you can say ki, as I could not join AFMC, so there was some kind of depression also, and I got a chance, so I thought like, let's do it. And I took admission in Bachelor in Optometry. And from there, within 1 to 2 months, there was like interest developed in me, and I was like ki nahi, ab isi mein kuch karna hai. And I started doing more and more and more. And obviously there were my teachers, Dr. Taskin Khan, who was very supportive with me, and also by the time my juniors and now my students and all my patients have been a very helpful throughout my journey. And this how I am here today.
Great. So coming up to now, the next question is to Anton. So Anton, your current terrain is very different from the other places in India. It's a difficult geographically, it's a very difficult terrain. So how do you kind of carry out your day-to-day work and the community optometry part? How do you do it?
Okay, see, for me, I've been very fortunate enough to teach in Shillong, which is the capital city. And also I have a clinic in Mairang. Mairang is 45 kilometers west of Shillong. It's a very beautiful place. It's mountainous, beautiful. It's cool in the summers, cold in the winters. The only thing that I found that kept me going all these past years has been my commitment towards the people I serve. So more or less you can say it has been consistency. I've been consistent and I've always been dedicated, and I always have a sense of satisfaction when I see a patient and I give them a pair of glasses, they see for the first time, they're very happy, or I advise them to undergo cataract surgery at Bansara, and they come back happy, 6'9", 6'6" vision after cataract surgery. They would tell me, for the first time, I'm able to see my great-great-grandchildren. I'm able to, see my fields again. I'm able to, see the stars or the sun again because of simple things of these. So that sense of satisfaction that I can derive from my patients is something that drives me continuously. The second thing is, because I teach a lot, and teaching has been my other passion. So ever since 2008, I've been teaching almost 12 batches of undergrad students. And these 12 batches, they have fanned out across the 7 northeastern states, and they've started their own. Some of them are currently working in the government, at government district hospitals, and they're doing wonderful work. So when I keep hearing these stories of, positive changes or positive impact they have in their local communities, that gives me a sense of accomplishment that, yes, I go on and on. I do this tirelessly day in and day out. That's how I take it, Paula, day in and day out. Of course, I have my ups and downs. I'm human after all. There'll be days when I just shut off and I don't want to do anything. But then a majority of the times I go on, I keep on, I keep on going. Thank you, Paula.
Great.
Anton, can I ask you a question, Anton?
Yeah, sure, Lakshmi.
That you mentioned about University of Waterloo. Have you ever regretted that you kind of left it and you've come back home? Any point of time? Do you kind of regret saying, oh, maybe I should have done that?
No, COVID-19 was a great leveler. COVID-19 puts all your perspective in place in one shot. No, I didn't regret it in one moment. Maybe in 2009, in the summer of 2009, I did think about it, but then looking at the work that I was able to accomplish with Dr. Jennifer back then, it's been really wonderful for me. So till now, till date, I have no regrets. I have no regrets. I still consider myself that first year optometry student at LV Prasad. Thank you, Lakshmi.
Shakil ji, so being like from central India, there we all know that the awareness in terms of eye care is very low. So what do you feel we need to improve, in eye care delivery service and eye care as a whole? What are your thoughts?
Right. Paula, so far as community eye care awareness is concerned, there is a definitely very lack of awareness because people are not more aware about it. But we are trying at our NGO level to get aware more ASHA, healthcare workers and teacher training programs we are running right now. We expect from you, in terms of eye care awareness, just like the Experience Vision project, we expect any other projects to train teachers and community health workers so that awareness can create in remote and especially semi-urban areas. Right.
Okay. Lakshmi ma'am, you want to ask something?
Yeah, Shakilti, I think in your position, administrative position, I have heard that you've kind of brought about some changes in terms of, increasing the, awareness in terms of vision centers and who needs to be there in vision centers and things like that, the changes that you brought about. So can you tell us about that?
Yes, right. Madam, see, the vision center model has various work actually. Vision center model provide basically the aim of vision center. If we are talking about the vision center which are belongs to the NGO hospital, which we call secondary hospitals, to provide the better follow-up services. Main aim of vision center opening is to provide better, because government NPCB program or NPCB authorities also expect from us to provide at least 70% follow-up post-operative patients I'm talking about. Second one, in the views of to make the vision center as a central place, and we provide health education awareness program also through our optometrist. Third one is he may be unable to provide the primary eye care in at their nearby place to the local peoples, refractive error correction, and very low level cost we try to provide the optical dispensing also. So many works evolved in the vision center model. Second thing is we expect from you also ki, in future please provide the technical and clinical support in terms of training programs so that our optometrists and ophthalmic assistants can enable to assess the corneal problems, eye calculation, and so many technical strengthening also. Thank you.
Yeah, basically you're saying we need to train more and more people and make them more aware of the situation so that they contribute towards these kind of issues that are there in different parts of India. And I also want to clarify that Shakil ji also has converted or elevated the people who are working in vision centers to be minimum qualification as diploma. I think that was a very good move, sir, in terms of who needs to be there to provide quality eye care services. So I think it's been a very very long journey for you to get there. And I think the NGO that you work in also has supported you very well in the Satguru Seva Sangh, basically in terms of how you want to expand these services in different areas. So that's really very nice. Thank you.
One more thing I want to add. We are striving for it to get the 2 years recognized diploma in optometry course because lack of optometrists. We are working in underprivileged, very remote areas. Our hospital is situated in 140 kilometers of any of the metro cities or district place actually. So you can understand the challenges where we are working and how we are working right.
And I don't think there's any optometric college also in those nearby districts as well.
No, there is none of the optometry college. Yeah. So we are striving for it, madam. Definitely we can get it.
Thank you. So coming back to Vibha, so Vibha being from Delhi, now we know that there's always competition, and at the same time there's a lot of information in terms of what reaches to the common man. So how do you deal with these kind of things?
Ji ma'am, like it's a true part being in Delhi that we face lots of competition and as well as with the associated challenges also. But most of the time I took this in a positive manner because with the competition we should learn because we have more seniors over here and more experts over here. So we not to take this as a competition, we should take this as a opportunity to learn from them. And about the challenges, I would say ki, yes, because every coin has two sides, so challenges are also there. But what I feel or as a practitioner, I work on need based practices because we should not go beyond a limit for a person. If a person is coming to you, I take the history of the patient first, then I evaluate what is the basic needs of the patient, what the basic needs patient want to us. If I'm able to give or suggest the thing according to their need, then I'm satisfied, and eventually the patient will be also satisfied. So yes, challenges are there, and more information is there which is not required at certain point of time. But if we are clear about our concepts, our work ethics, so I don't think it affect us.
Okay, great. So coming back to again Vibha, you actually participated in the Experience Vision project, which the CSR project which OCI did, and you were a integral part of the third phase where we did a lot of optometry awareness in students. So you almost visited more than 10-12 schools. You interacted with all those children and the faculties. Share your experience. How was it? Like, how did this project empower you? what changes did you feel that, okay, after doing this project, I kind of learned these aspects. So share that with us.
Ji ma'am. Like initially, when I came across this project, there was only one thing in my mind, like why I should take this project. So first, I wanted to clear the my thoughts or my understanding, ki why I need to join this project and why I should do this. So there was only one thing in my mind, like when I was a student. So I had lots of confusion in my mind regarding my career, regarding my career after 12th, and options to choose, because not every child don't have that good fortune that they are surrounded with the people who can guide us in a proper manner. So I thought like it's a good opportunity for me that OCI is giving us to giving to me, so that I can visit to the different schools with the permission, and I had a letter from you your end. So I thought it's a good opportunity to meet the school students, especially 11th and 12th students, though and interact them and guide them in a proper manner up to my knowledge, ki what are the best opportunity they can choose after the 12th. So with this thought, I took the project, and it was a wonderful, and I would say it was a blessing for me and a good fortune for me that I took the project, because I interacted with the school students, and in fact the teachers and the school administration was also very impressed. They were like, who are these guys OCI, and why they are doing this as this kind of such a wonderful job. It's a need of the hour for the students, and not such many associations or organizations are there who work like this or who think like this. So while doing the project, while interacting with the students, there were lots of questions from students, and in fact they contacted me even after the 1 month 2 months, like, ma'am, you had came to our school and you guided us, please guide us in in other aspects, please talk to our parents. They are not knowing ki what is optometry. They are like ki aap log kya bol rahe ho, what is this optometry, we haven't like heard about this. So it was a great part, I would say, of my life till
I'm
now.
sure that after this, after your explanation to so many schools and so many students, lot of students have joined optometry. I'm hoping.
Me too, ma'am. In fact, some of the students are still in touch with me, and like 8 to 10 have joined this year
Great.
in optometry, and others are like, first, obviously, some students are think like, first we should be towards the MBBS and MBBS entrance. After that, they eventually come to the other part sometimes. So I'm hoping the more and more numbers into the optometry, because India really needs more number of qualified optometrists.
Paula, can I ask a question to Anton?
Yes, please, ma'am.
Yeah, sure, Lakshmi.
Anton, in your terrain, there is so much of climate change, correct? So
Yeah, sure.
what are the changes you think that you have to, adapt yourself in terms of if you want to do a school screening or, some kind of community work? Do you plan it only on certain months and don't do it on certain months? Or, how do you adapt your clinic in terms of those climate changes and things like that? I just want to know.
A good question, Lakshmi. Thank you for the question. Just a bit of background. For us here, we have winter holidays. We don't have summer holidays like the rest of India. So our winter months are usually from December, January, and February. And so all schools and colleges, they close for 3 months. So all our school eye screening programs happen between March and November. So we don't have school eye screening programs in the winters. That's the first. Second, when you have ICAMs practically run throughout the year, but we kind of avoid ICAMs in the month of November, December. That's when they harvest the paddy. when they harvest the rice, and especially during the monsoons, because when it rains, it rains. It rains literally for 3-4 days on end, and it doesn't stop. So we have to keep in mind these climatic conditions when we plan for an ICAM, and the school holidays when we plan for school eye screening. When it comes to the clinic, now because of better connectivity, we are able to have clinic almost. I have my clinic almost 3 to 4 times a week. But now, because of COVID, so I literally stay in the village. I travel to Shillong only once a week. I take my classes online. The once a week I go, I have my practical classes. So that's about how this works. But I can tell you, some of my students who work in Arunachal, they have a much more difficult terrain than I experience. For them, the weather, sometimes they have snow, sometimes they have heavy rainfall. So depending on the climatic conditions, we adjust. Sometimes you have to cancel. And then you've got these law and order problems. They crop out of the blue. So whatever you plan has to be kept on hold, postponed, and all that. But then, as I told Paula earlier, we remain clear-eyed on our mission and our goals, and so we maintain that consistency with collaboration with people who we work with. So I hope that answers your question, Lakshmi.
Yeah, Anton. Yeah.
Thanks.
So I was just thinking, at the kind of motivation, Waterloo PhD versus this. So, hats off to you. Seriously, I mean, on a very, very serious note, it's such a great thing to have such people like you in such remote areas like Northeast and all that stuff, and contributing towards both, bringing up a new generation of optometrists as well as serving the community.
Thank you. It's been an honor and a pleasure for me here.
And I think I owe one big thank you to Dr. Jennifer as well. I hear that.
Yeah, I mean, she's been a good partner. She's been a wonderful partner. She's been a visionary, actually, with regards to how we are doing as a profession in the Northeast, because she clearly understood what the role of an ophthalmologist is and what the role of an optometrist is.
Very
And
good.
because of her, we have responsible optometrists in all the 7 northeastern states.
Oh, great.
And we have the Nagaland Optometric Association doing very good work in Nagaland, and we have our state association, the Meghalaya Optometric Association, doing very good work. I mean, just a bit of background. In both our states, the local community will not give you permission to open an optical shop unless you have some formal training or a degree. So, I mean, right now in Meghalaya, you can't open an optical shop unless you're an optometrist. I mean, a diploma or a degree holder. So that's how we're able to change the scenario in the past 5 years. I mean, most of the opticians, they hate me. They literally hate me. They grumble behind their mouth when they see me, because literally we change the landscape. No? I mean, patients are happy because they get quality spectacles, quality eye care. The people in the village are happy because we provide what we're supposed to provide, primary eye care. So we do that. So that way, it's been a journey, and my students have been my bedrock, and they are now the stars scattered all over the northeastern sky.
Thank
to
you.
put it poetically. Yeah.
So to take the same question forward to Shakil ji, MP, we know that the temperature is extreme. It is very hot in summer and again very cold in winter. So any change you do in terms of scheduling a screening, any precautions you take, if you can share with us.
Right, exactly. We are talking before Corona or post Corona. So before Corona periods, just kidding. We are very clear about this. We have a seasonal variation actually. We in our work, in our the culture of our work and in our organizational work, totally winter season is overworked. We are overworked in winter seasons because the tendency over the years, the people think the winter season is good to get the cataract surgery. So all, even as of today, people think that the mostly person prefer to get the cataract surgery in winter season. So our 60-40 ratio, even I can say 80-20 ratio. 80% our workload is in winter season from September, October to till March. And we are totally free from March to August, September. So all trainings, all community health screening or school screening, because of summer vacation, the school is totally off. But all other training programs and other except other hospital work, we only prefer in the summer season only. Because overworked, our doctors, all the staffs are overworked in the winter season actually. There is a seasonal variation actually.
Yeah. Sir, for your question which you asked earlier, whatever technical training that you require, definitely OCI would like to support. So you just have to ask us and we will try and support you in whichever way possible.
Yeah, I discussed with our director, sir, but I think this is not the right platform to discuss. I will message you. But
Sure.
our director, sir, asked me to convey you that our optometrists, we have very few optometrists now, but they also need the technical aspects, right? IOL calculation, right? From in respect of IOL calculations, as suppose eye problem, eye impairment because of the cataract strabismus, refractive error corrections properly in the semi-urban and rural areas.
Basically, all comprehensive eye examination. You just
We will prefer to IOL calculation and something because
Yeah,
this is the like a cataract factory. Actually, we perform 40,000 surgery every year, and in MP we are in high numbers actually.
okay, sir. So I think
It's good we are high.
connect and then we can see how to take this forward.
If you facilitated the training, we will be very grateful to you.
Okay, so coming back to Vibha, so Vibha, you teach, along with that you are into private practice as well. So when something like a screening project comes to you, what is the procedure in terms of permission? What kind of permissions you need to take to take part in projects and do community screening and stuff?
From the university, and I have to say.
Okay, so are you completely doing the private practice which you are doing? You are completely doing without the involvement of the college, or it is like your college is also involved? How is it?
No, ma'am. My college timing is from 9 to 5. So I am full time in my academics in my university 9 to 5. After that, from 5:30 onwards, from 5:30 to 8 p.m. in the evening, I do my clinic work.
Okay, so
So that
in your capacity of a private practitioner, when if you get some opportunity, then is it like you have to take some permission from the from your college or university, or you can do it independently? How it goes?
no, definitely I'll discuss with them. I take permission with them, and they are like very sweet, and they give me an chance to grab the opportunity like this projects and things. So each time I approach to them with the projects, I ask them, I take the permission, and after that I proceed.
Okay, okay. So, okay, Anton, coming back to you, this is like, so when we are discussing our journeys and you just said that, these stars are in the sky of Northeast, your stars, you must be having, a moment of pride sometime. So can you tell us maybe one moment of pride when you were really proud of that? Yes, I have achieved something.
I think my moment of pride would be every academic year when another undergrad batch would graduate and another postgrad batch would graduate. And looking back at the academic year that was, we were able to improve certain things that we were not able to do in the previous batch, but were able to incorporate in this current batch. So, so these small steps over the years have added value and quality to our education. So it was difficult in the beginning. I mean, I was the only one teaching, and then gradually, a host of students graduated under me. They trained themselves into teaching, and now they've become so proficient. They become so proficient that I don't need to focus much more than what I was doing earlier. So I don't really sit down, Paula, and think of pride, but it's been a continuous sense of accomplishment and a continuous sense of happiness that whatever we've been doing, we've been able to impact lives of of the community, of our students and their families, and it's actually been a journey. It's been a journey for me looking back these past 12 years. I hope that answers your questions, Paula.
Great. So Shakil ji, you are more than 2 decades in this profession. So and you have kind of established a lot of things. So what was your moment of pride in these years, if you can share?
Since beginning, Paula, madam, that it was my cup of tea since beginning. This work, primary eye care and vision centers program. So I feel every moment is for me the pride. What I work every day, I feel pride. But some events have happened in last 20 years. I have been working almost. So one event I want to share to all of you. When I was working in Tata Eyewear division in Titan Plus, that where I was a consultant optometrist in Bhopal location. So one family, he was a Kerala-based family, but living in Bhopal, came to us to get their eye refraction. So the Avasthi, he still remember me. He came to me and get eye tested, entire family. And just last, when they were leaving our showroom or branch, they asked me, my grandfather-in-law is also with us. He is 90 years old. He was 90 years old. But there is no means to check their eyes because he has got the RD surgery. And doctor said, no, there is no improvement, and leave it to him as situation. Okay. At last I told him, I get it checked. I saw, I did a refraction, and little bit -2 cylindrical has corrected their vision 6.9, up to 6.9. So he could not believe that, is it possible? I thought that it would not become ever, never ever it would become the vision. It was possible. So that I felt very good that time, no, never ignore my message to every younger optometrist also, never neglect the small things. Because I think big doctor, big consultants think big. And big prescription, big diagnosis, their mindset to think only big. But we are a secondary level practitioner, or I think a primary eye care practitioner. So we have to focus the smaller things also.
Great.
The small things, we have to tell, sir, this is your missing. So this is my event.
Great. So Vibha, actually, we have also heard a lot of stories from you that how you have changed lives. Now, just to wrap up, I think I will start, first with you that what would be your message to, the young optometrists who are, joining the profession, that, how they can motivate themselves to, serve the community? Because I understand that, yes, they will be joining, their avenues and stuff, but then going out of their comfort level and helping the community. What has motivated you, if you can, share with the young optometrists that maybe 1 or 2 points that they can take this as a takeaway message that yes, we should also help the community. So I'll start with you, Vibha.
Definitely, ma'am. Thank you. So ma'am, I would like to start with the point, like sometimes what we do, we try to be out of our boundary zone, and we try to do the part which the basically the our respective doctors are doing. So sometimes at the initial age, we look forward the things which is not comes in our domain sometimes, like which is related to giving the medicines, and some for example, like doing the B scan, these kinds of thing. My message to all my young juniors and the upcoming optometrists, like feel proud that you are the optom or the future optom. You have chosen the greatest profession, and try to sharpen your skills, and more as much as you can, and be confident that you have a very strong build, and you have a very strong profession, or the good profession where you can prove yourself on a daily basis. Like your every patient is important. Whenever you come across your patient, every patient teach you a small one or two things. So try to grab that, improve your skills. And about the community service, I would like to add one point, like being at one place doing your best part is also one of the good thing. But going out of the comfort zone and giving your best to the community where the people need you the most, where they have the least resources, and when you go there, spend some time, so the sense of satisfaction or the accomplishment you feel, so that you can't compare with by doing the things at one place, or at your own clinic, or the place where you practice in the urban areas. So do these kinds of thing, and feel proud, and spread happiness all over.
That's so nice. So such a nice thing to say, Vibha, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
So, okay, so Anton, I'm sure that a lot of optometrists, your, students, they must be, listening to this discussion, what we are having. So any message for them that, because I know that on daily basis, maybe you are not able to interact with them. So this might be a platform they are listening, and any message you want specifically for them.
I would just tell them to be consistent, keep the faith, meaning be committed to your profession. It's the best thing that you have in these changing times. Like I've been committed to my profession for a long time, and though the world has changed, but my profession remains the same. I'm able to serve people. So that's what I've been. The faith and stay focused. That's what I want to tell them.
Great. Okay. Lakshmi ma'am, you want to comment anything?
No, I mean, I think, all the three of them have kind of, what to say, are inspirations in very different ways to the younger generation. Anton, for somebody who's longing to go abroad and stuff, and who has that as, thinking that's the only way out for optometry. There are many students, Anton, when I speak to them, I get that, they think the only way for the future is to go outside India, and there is nothing left here and things like that. So for those kind of people, I think this is such a great inspiration to say that, there is a lot more to do. And as Vibha said, the satisfaction of going outside in the community and serving, you don't get that when you sit in your cabin in private practice. That is a very, very good thing that she said. And when it comes to Shakil sir, well, he is totally on a different ground, where there is, I don't think even sanitation and, electricity are available in some of the places that he works in. A very, very difficult terrain as far as central India is concerned, because it's been neglected for various reasons, which we don't want to get into. So in such areas, getting diploma holders to work in those areas and, tell them that, that the service that they're doing is really something good, and to have the backing of the hospital for all the work that he does, I think that is really something very, very different. And it needs a lot of motivation, somebody might do it for 1 day, 2 day, but then to do it every day morning, to get up and do the same thing, that really needs a lot of motivation for everything. I mean, for all what these three people are doing, I think every day you need to be committed. Otherwise, I think you'll fall out in a year's time. If you don't have that commitment, I think in a year's time, you'll just say, oh, this is very boring, and then move on to something else. That itself, I think, is a big inspiration for all the students. And, I would like to say, namaskar to all the three of you for all the hard work that you all are putting in for the profession.
It's been a pleasure for me to meet Mr. Shakil Ahmed and Ms. Vibha. It's been a real honor. I hope we're able to meet face to face sometime soon in the near future. I do know Paula. I do know Paula very well. She looks very fine today. I know Lakshmi very well as well. So I hope, Mr. Shakil, God blesses you in your work and you continue to serve the undeserved. And Ms. Vibha, I'm sure God will bless you in your work and you continue to be a beacon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
And thanks to all of you. I know Saturday afternoon is not a good time for all of you to spare, but you did that, and you committed yourself to this time. So I think thanks. I would really like to thank from everybody in OCI, all of you for having come and spent your time here. This Facebook Live link, we would share it with many of the college heads as well, so that they could play to their students. So that's our aim, basically, the students to listen to, the final year students to listen to all these stories and then pick up things from here and then look at what their future holds for them. So thanks a lot, everybody.
Thanks, OCI, madam. Thank you, madam. Especially.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye.